Hello and welcome to the Conscious Leadership Podcast. My name is Julie Hogbin and I am the creator of the 3 weekly episodes that are produced: Wealth Wednesday, the A to Z of Business on Friday, and a longer content piece or interview on a Monday. If you like what you hear, please share this podcast if you think it would support and help somebody else.
Looking forward to this conversation today. Today we've got Julie Hogbin on the show. Julie is a human behaviourist. She's the host of the podcast Conscious Leadership. She's the author of 2 books, one book called Goal Setting, Practical How-To Guide, and the second, Stress the Reality. So practical guides to actually to get out of stress. Julie's obviously also a property investor, leadership management consultant, and specialise in working with leaders and business around human behaviour. So Julie, welcome to the Business Mastermind podcast.
Thank you, Gavin. I'm really looking forward to this. And that introduction sounds like it's somebody else, not me.
Isn't it always good when somebody else gives you the introduction?
It's lovely. Yeah. It's lovely.
Now, I wanted to talk to you on the show about your second book, actually, about Stress, the Reality. And I come across some people now, business owners that are actually in a good place, but many more actually that are not. They're members of the team are stressed. They may be worried about their business. Employees could be in a state of stress or increased anxiety. So I invited you onto the show because I wanted a conversation about some of the practical things that people can do to dial down the level, the amount of stress, the amount of anxiety. I quite often have conversations with people that are talking about loss of sleep because they're awake at night, worried. And this is a very real thing, isn't it?
It is.
It's a very real concern. So I wanted to sort of dive into a conversation around that. Before we do, just share a little of your background. You mentioned to me before I press pause that you've worked with thousands, tens of thousands, I think you said, of leaders over your career to date. So just share a little of your career journey and highlights to date.
Wow. I mean, I'll do a really short snapshot. So I was almost an A-star pupil and I went off the rails, basically. So I left the education system the first day I could legally and just walked away. And I say I went off the rails, I was easily distracted. And my first career was in accountancy. So it's really interesting how this all sort of goes around. My first career was in accountancy, and I without qualifications, because you could back in the day. And I ended up as a management accountant, and then went through into becoming a financial accountant for 2 different organisations. And I got really fed up, and I was the person whose party trick at the time, I can't do it now because I've lost the connections, but if you gave me a calculation, it didn't matter how long it was, I would give you the answer before a calculator could give you the answer.
Wow, so mental arithmetic was your thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was my brain at that point was phenomenal with numbers, and I failed all my exams on math because I couldn't do the working out. I didn't know how to do the working out, but I always came up with the right answer. Wow. So I went from that, because I got really fed up with a 9 to 5 sitting at a desk routine, into audit, which got me into the retail sector. So that was all private manufacturing previous. I got into the retail sector as an auditor. And that got me around and about, out in stores, auditing, writing reports, assessing their business processes and all of that nice stuff. And what came out of that was that I couldn't just leave the store managers not knowing how to do the thing that they wanted to do, that they needed to do to get the good results. So I ended up starting to train them. So when I wrote the report was more positive than it was negative, if that makes sense. And then I went from that into systems implementation. I'm not tech, but I was in the cash offices, going from the old manual tills, shows you how old I am, from the old manual tills into scanning, which then got me back into the financial sector as such, or finance. But again, training people. And what happened then was that I ended up going for an interview. One of my friends at the company said, you're always complaining about the learning and development department and they don't train people very well. put your body where your mouth is and apply for the job that's just become vacant. So I ended up in the learning and development department and was immediately given graduate trainees to manage and train in management and leadership for a year. I still remember my first day training, but that got me truly into the love of my life, which is around enabling people to be the best version of themselves they can be. Coaching, mentoring, training, teaching, facilitating, whatever that might mean. And I have done that since. And that was 30 plus years ago. And I've done it across private sector, the public sector, and now into the entrepreneurial market. I got to the point where I was a partner in a firm. At maximum, there were 14 of us. And we worked value-driven, massively value-driven. We worked in the non-profit sector, the third sector, which includes local authorities, government, charities, all of that type of thing. So I ended up working for them from a value perspective. But prior to that, I did a massive contract with PricewaterhouseCoopers, who got me into coaching, fabulous training from them. I've then gone on and, I've studied coaching, I've studied NLP, I classify myself as a master mentor. I've trained people how to mentor, I've trained people how to coach, I've trained people how to train. And I have literally worked with tens of thousands of people, leaders and managers within business over 3+ decades, and I love it.
So, if you've come across somebody, I'm sure you will have done over your coaching and mentoring career, who, they're under a lot of pressure, external circumstances have changed, like we've got now. Yeah. They've lost their way a bit, they've lost that confidence and the mojo. What have you found that's been really helpful to get people back on track?
It's an age-old question, this. The easiest way to get people back on track is to notice it before it becomes a real problem. So I will always go back to the basics of doing, within management, within leadership, having those conversations with your staff team or with your colleagues or your peers or your boss, whichever way round it works, which then supports people to recognise and acknowledge that they're trying to do too much. So the best way of doing it, and because stress is preventable, that if there's one key message that comes out of this whole interview, stress is preventable. We do not have to be stressed. Now, I say that from over 30 years of working with people who have been stressed. And one of the key things with people in business, this is my belief, this is what I see time after time after time after time, is that people think they're being nice by not having the conversation with people about how they are performing.
Oh, so true. So true.
Both positively, so overperforming, because overperforming puts us into burnout, underperformance puts us into apathy. Both can lead to stress and burnout, both. So as a good manager, as a good leader, as a good colleague, whatever name title we want to give ourselves, as a good person perhaps is the right way of saying it, you see somebody that's doing something that isn't, I'm going to say appropriate, too much or too little, and you have the conversation, you nip it in the bud. Now, that is a massive thing for people to be able to do because it is perceived as a weakness. This is still my belief. It's perceived as a weakness to ask for help. And in reality, the sooner we ask for help, the sooner we will get it, the sooner the issue gets resolved, whatever that issue is, and the sooner that we can get ourselves back into that position when we're on an even keel, we're balanced. And because stress, true stress, is unresolved pressure that we have the perception we cannot deal with it. So most of stress is our perception of a situation. So what I've seen a lot is that people feel they can't have the conversation with somebody because they perceive there's going to be conflict. or there's going to be aggravation from the conversation, or they're going to upset somebody by having the conversation, male and female, doesn't matter what gender you are, doesn't matter what age you are. So the person doesn't have the conversation and the issue escalates. When it escalates, it takes more energy, more effort, there's more worry, there's less sleep. You tremble inside about having the conversation, whereas you nipped it in the bud right at the beginning without nitpicking. You care, you're concerned. It's so much easier to do.
That's the context of a performance management type conversation, which of course is a great creator of stress. But people are going to be also stressed about turnover, profitability, the existence of their business. In some cases, as I say, some businesses are doing all right and some are doing well, but others not. That's not a uniform story at the moment. Yeah. So what about some of those external worries or stresses around making payroll, maintaining the survivability of a business?
It's hard, and especially, we're recording this at the beginning of 2021. We've had a year that nobody could ever have predicted. It's really hard, and I think it is really hard for any business owner, business leader, to not look at their staff team, their staff complement, whoever they may be, VA, PA, online, offline, fully employed, part-time, whatever that might be, contractor, not to look at those individuals as humans. And as the business owner leader, you know that if you made them redundant or cut their hours, their personal circumstances are going to change. Is really hard. And I have never met one individual that doesn't feel that personally and painfully. Sure. So I think there is this whole thing, and it does depend on your personality type, but I think there's this whole thing that we have to do is to be able to look at it strategically. Because that sounds really hard, but actually, in reality, it's what we've got to do. Because if we cannot look after ourselves, and by looking after ourselves, we look after our business, which creates the future for the business, which then can be re-engineered. The word this year has been about pivoting. Businesses start at one thing and evolve into others. And that's a whole long process. But we have to be able to, look strategically at how we can best support the people that we have working with us, for us. And sometimes that is to make them redundant. And when people are made redundant, they can then, dependent on their circumstances, either claim or go out and do something different. So redundancy, as much as some people see it as a negative, and I've been made redundant, so I'm not saying this from not experiencing it. Sometimes being made redundant can actually truly be the best thing that's happened to you.
Sure.
But that doesn't take away the human element of, you are, as a business leader, you are changing people's lives. You're impacting on people's lives, and some people take it positively and some people take it negatively. And you can't, I'm going to say, be held accountable for that. The only thing you can be held accountable for is how you do it. And it's that old adage of, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's not what you do, it's how you make people feel. With any situation, and we've had some in this last year, we have to really think about how we are doing what we're doing, how we're having any conversation with anybody, because you don't know what's going on in their background and with the people that they are living with, communicating with, whatever their community is. It's hard. It's really hard.
So, just drawing from the book, Stress, the Reality.
Yes.
What are some of the practical tips that you recommend to people about reducing their level of anxiety, the level of stress?
The biggest thing for me, and it's probably sometimes the hardest one to do, is to actually get yourself out of the situation. Whatever the situation is, get yourself out of it. Now, I mean that physically, and I mean that mentally, and I mean that emotionally. what happens, so you've got different stressors. So you've got the workplace can be one. You've got the home life can be another. You've got the financial aspects can be another. So it's sort of there, if you like, the three key ones. All of those impact on us, and stress is where it all accumulates, and our natural reactions. It's what they call, our natural reactions get aroused. If we keep ourselves in the position, we never relax. And that's where the pressure just piles on, which then leads to illness, basically, which could be tension across your neck, spots, dry throat. I mean, the consequences of insidious stress, which is the long one that we don't deal with. I mean, basically, it can kill you. You know, that's the extreme, and it does. But you've got all the illnesses that go through to. For some people, it's all the illnesses that then, you know, really undermine us. So some of the key things, the first thing is get yourself out of the situation. Get yourself out of it, whatever that situation is, however you do that. Because by keeping yourself in it, you're perpetuating the insidiousness, if that's a word, of the pressure that we're under. So get yourself out of it. And some really simple things, and it is nothing that we have not been told for decades. Eat well. Drink water, exercise, because that then uses the enzymes and things that are flowing around your body. Eat well, exercise, drink water, reduce what they call the false friends, which are stop smoking, or reduce smoking as much as you can, because it's a false friend. It's an artificial relaxant, and it's addictive. Reduce alcohol, it's full of sugar, affects your body, affects your mind. So reduce that or stop if you can. Sugar, alcohol. Check your spending habits, because people, when they're in this place, spend. So we overeat, undereat, overdrink, underdrink, oversmoke, undersmoke. Our behaviours change extremely, generally, what happens. And work out how you can get the best night's sleep you can. So there are some tips around that, which is write down all your thoughts before you go to sleep. So clear your brain, meditate. You know, this is all out there. This is not science, but how am I going to phrase this? Many people don't appreciate why we're actually told to do some of these things. So good nutrients in, you know, veg, good food, the best you can afford for yourself, rather than don't eat packaged, don't eat processed, cook fresh, don't live on takeaways, cut out the wheat and the gluten and you know, those sorts of things, because they harm us rather than help us. So it's some of it is pretty basic stuff. Exercise gets rid of, it makes you feel good, it raises your endorphins and the serotonin, says I, who's trying to get back into exercise. So it does make you feel good when you've done it, and if you're tired when you start, you're generally feeling better when you're finished. So exercise, but it also puts your body into a relaxed state. It also makes you, I'm going to say, tired, so you're going to sleep better. If your body's hydrated, it allows you to sleep better. If you're dehydrated, you won't sleep well. So it's that whole combination of things. It's not just one thing. And as a really quick tip, and I can talk for England, by the way. As a really quick tip, one of the things to do if you're in that moment of is actually to scream, go out and kick the car tyre or punch a wall or something, because it releases the pressure. And the other thing, and I've been known to do this, and I still do it every now and then, find something that makes you laugh. You know, whether it's your favourite programme, a short clip, 2 minutes. One of my favourites is Graham Norton. You know, I put some of his short clips that are all on YouTube. He makes me roar with laughter. If you're roaring with laughter, you cannot have the alternate thought in your head, like the negativity, because you can only hold one thought.
Yeah. What about the impact on you say get yourself out of the situation. So if somebody's in a situation of, say, financial worry, whether it's for their business or their own personal finances, what's advice would you give to them? Because it's not as if they can say, oh, well, I won't be in that financial situation. They are.
Yeah.
So it's not like they can walk away from a job that's toxic or a relationship that's toxic. Yeah. So what advice do you give to those that are stressed about finances, for whether it be personal or business?
It's so this is something I've learned, by the way. So everything I'm sort of saying, a lot of what I'm saying, I've learned myself because I've needed to do it at one point in my life or another. If you are financially in a situation and you know, the first thing to do is, this is going to sound a bit daft, but is to start to save something somehow, somewhere. Because financial freedom, financial security is a big thing, and not many people are financially secure. So start to save something somewhere, somehow, whatever that might be. Cut down on all of the unnecessary spending you're doing. If you're in a financial circumstance, cut down on the unnecessary spending. I did this once. I saved myself thousands of pounds over a year because my expenditure was, I'm going to say, materialistic based at one point. I thought I was fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. But actually, when I looked at it, I thought, blimey, what else could I have done with that? So cut down on your spending. Save where you can, somehow, anything, because that does give you security. Somebody once told me there's, and I don't know how it works, but if you've got 6 months living expenses behind you,
sure,
you can leave your job, you can find another job, you can leave a relationship, you can be independent, and you come from a place of abundance rather than lack. So start saving, however you do that. Cut your expenses down. And if you're in a toxic environment in the workplace, and this is really important, if you realise you're in that place, the sooner you know that you're in it, start looking to get out of it. Because what happens over time is that the toxicity of the workplace, the bullying, the nagging, the whatever it is, undermines your self-esteem. The minute your self-esteem starts to drop, you then don't have the confidence to go out and find another job.
Sure.
It's like a cycle. It's a spiral.
Yeah.
Learn about money. Actually, there's lots of podcasts. There's lots of books out there. And they're not expensive. Learn about money. Learn about how, and I'm not going to say how the economy works, but actually, because we're not economists, well, I'm certainly not, but learn about how money works. Learn about money, because nobody really teaches us.
Yeah. So stress is preventable. Just summarising some of the key issues so far. Stress is preventable.
Yeah.
Get yourself out of the situation that's causing stress.
Yeah.
What are some of the other tips that you advocate for people to reduce the level of stress?
Talk to people. So share it. Talk to somebody. Access help. Do not believe that you will deal with it on your own, because you won't. It will continue to just cycle round your head, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So find support, find help, whatever it might be around. Find support, find help. You can phone all sorts of people free. There are helplines out there that will help you. There are, if you're in a working environment, talk to your HR department. Lots of organisations have employee assistance programs, so EAPs. Yeah. Access them, and access them from strength, not from a perception of weakness. There's it's not a weakness. It's not a weakness. What were the figures? I think 1 in 4 people in the UK will experience a mental health concern. And when they say 1 in 4, they mean a negative mental health concern, because we all have mental health, all of us. Yeah. It's our duty to maintain that as the best way we can. So mental health is quite often perceived as negative. It's not. It's a positive thing. So to maintain your mental health is as important as maintaining your physical health. Because without your mental health, and it's the first thing to go with stress, your brain goes cloudy. So talk to people, get the problem out of your own head. And what's the saying? Is it a problem shared is a problem halved or something?
Yeah.
So come at it from a position of strength. Talk to the people that will support you to come out of it.
You've, as you said, you've coached, worked with, trained tens of thousands of leaders. You've seen many of those in very demanding, high-pressured jobs, in roles. What are some of the strategies that, other than what you've talked about, that you've seen them use that have been very, very effective in helping them manage high pressure?
Get a good team around them.
Yeah.
A good team. A team that they know, like and trust, that they respect, that are good at what they do, that are good leaders, good managers, whatever their field, because they will have the people underneath them that are creating the results. So develop a really good team. Have some good advisors, whether that be board advisors or colleagues, masterminds. Excuse me. Get in a mastermind, pay for learning, pay for development, access people that are higher than you from where you want to be, because none of these problems are new. They may have been in a different era. They may have been a decade ago or 2 decades ago. I very rarely see anything that is new. Now, okay, pandemic might be slightly different, but the problems that's creating have happened before. Businesses survive, but the services change. Businesses evolve, businesses go under, businesses in times of pressure, businesses are created. So access people that know stuff. They don't have to be older than you, they can be younger than you, they've just experienced more. So I suppose part of that maybe for me is, for some people, not all, for some, get out of your own head, get out of your own way, but access those that can help you.
Fantastic. Julie, this is all good, solid advice. If anybody wants to find out more about you and your books and the work you do in improving leadership and human behaviour, how do they do that?
I'm on I'm on all the social media platforms, including the new one, Clubhouse. So follow me on social media or message me on social media. Both of my books are on Amazon. They're currently in paperback and Kindle version. The Kindle versions I've put bock rotten price, because especially the stress one, it is preventable. So please, I think it's 99p. And because the platform provides it, it's almost the cheapest I can put it up at, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
And I don't have it on the website or anything yet as free download. And if anybody wants to email me, and I'm keeping the emails separate for various reasons, but email me at connect@clavem.global, so CLAVEM.global. I'm answering questions all over the place at the moment. I'm answering a lot of questions.
And then your podcast?
Podcast. Oh, blimey. Podcast is the Conscious Leadership Podcast. I produce 3 episodes a week. Talk about put extra pressure on yourself. There's one on a Monday, which are general subjects around leadership and management and business and life. I've just started this one on a Wednesday. I have created a theme called Wealth Wednesday, which is around how we get out of our own way about our wealth, because we're programmed. And then on a Friday, I create one called the A to Z of Business. And each week I do a different letter of the alphabet and link it into business with a brief explanation. So Wednesdays and Fridays are short. They're no more than 5 minutes. Mondays is probably about 20 minutes. And there's about 80 odd episodes now. I've been doing it for just over a year, I think, now.
Fantastic. Well, Julie, thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you, Gavin. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Conscious Leadership Podcast. If you have any questions, please contact me on any one of the social media channels. I'm on most of them, including Clubhouse and YouTube, and my books are on Amazon. If you would like a topic discussed, please tell me, and if you have found this information useful, please share and please leave a review.